You're walking around Kyoto in May when you run into this. Aren't you lucky? This is one of the top 3 festivals in Kyoto, the Aoi Festival procession on May 15th.
The festival gets its name from the aoi plant, the symbol of Kamo Shrine. Everyone is proudly decorated with it. Most of the participants are dressed in Heian Period dress, with the majority in aristocratic clothing. There are many events during the festival, such as Yabusame archery and horse racing, but the main event is the procession of the saioudai.
But did you know she's reenacting a role that has been defunct for almost 700 years? In fact, there were 2 young women who were selected to do rituals on behalf of the emperor, and they were known as the and the.
After visiting the Saikou archaeological site in Mie Prefecture, I was inspired to learn more about the role of the saiou.
So in this episode, let's travel back to the time of the saiou. Who were they? What did they do? Why did their position disappear? And how has the role of the saiou been brought back to the present day? In English, he's known as the high priestess, or a medium, or a maiden. The job of the saiou was to conduct Shinto rituals on behalf of the emperor. She was an unmarried woman selected from the royal family by bokujo divination, and these girls and ladies who were selected held the royal titles of naishin-no or jowo. More on what that means in a minute. Once she was selected, she underwent several years of seclusion and purification rituals. Her first year was called shosain, and then once shosain ended, she spent another 3 years of purification rituals at a place that was either called Nonomiya or Murasaki no In.
According to Kamigamo Shrine's website, the Murasaki no In was located around the present-day Ichiidani Narano Shrine. It is now a very small shrine in the middle of a very quiet Kyoto neighborhood.
I felt really bad for tromping through there, even though I was on a research expedition, but I did leave the shrine with 2 of their Goshuin stamps.
See? Proof that I went there.
The exact place inside the building where the saiou was to stay was always determined by divination. So this always changed depending on the result of the divination ritual. Also, her movements being determined by divination meant that she was subjected only to the will of the Shinto gods, and she had to be kept secluded from outside ideas in order to remain pure. Buddhism. Oh, excuse me.
Once the 3 years at Nonomiya or Murasaki no In were up, the saiou were allowed to conduct rituals on behalf of the emperor.
History explanation tangent time! What do the royal titles Naishin-no and Jowo mean? This gets a little difficult to translate into English and even more difficult to understand what the difference is. Thankfully, the Kunaicho Imperial Household Agency has an excellent website explaining the rules regarding royal titles in the Japanese court. So according to the Kunaicho website, a Naishin-no is a princess born directly to the emperor. The male version is a Shin-no, or prince in English. A Jowo, translated as queen, is not the same as what Westerners would think when Westerners think of queens. A Jouo is a daughter born to a Shinno prince, making her granddaughter to the emperor. So the Naishinno is closer in rank to the emperor than the Jouo. You can look up present-day Naishinno and Jouo on the website for more context, although it's probably a little easier to understand if you read the Japanese version and not the English version. Okay, tangent time over. Let's go back to the main topic. Where were the saiou sent to after their time at the Murasaki no Inn?
The saiou were sent to Kamo Shrine in Kyoto and Ise Grand Shrine in now Mie Prefecture. The saiou in Kyoto stayed at the Sain, and the saiou at Ise stayed at the Saiku.
So they're known as the Sain saiou and the Saiku saiou. Now the position of the Saiku saiou is actually much older than the Sain saiou. It's so old, in fact, that the first ever saiou is part of a legendary list. Their names and the names of the emperors they served are documented but can't be verified with anything other than the Kojiki, the Nihon Shoki, and the Zoku Nihongi. So saying that, who are the first legendary and verifiably documented Saiku saiou and the first Sain saiou? According to Ise Grand Shrine, the first saiou, Toyosuke Hime, was assigned by 10th Emperor Sujin to look after a sacred mirror that was enshrined near Mount Miwa at Kashiwara Shrine, which is now in Nara Prefecture. The Kojiki explains that an epidemic had occurred caused by the deity Omononushi, and many people had succumbed to the disease or had left the country. Okay, but I'm confused. The name Toyosuke Hime doesn't appear in the Kojiki. She's supposed to be the emperor's daughter, so maybe she's referenced by another name? Emperor Sujin was ordered to find Omononushi's descendant, Old Tataneko, and Old Tataneko was to conduct rituals for Omononushi at Mount Miwa. But Old Tataneko was somewhere else, and the emperor had to go find this person, so not his daughter? In this abridged version I have of the Nihon Shoki, it says that it was the emperor's aunt, Yamato Totohimomoso Hime, who heard the voice of Omononushi. She marries him and he ends up being a snake. So in regards of Toyosuke Hime, I'm just going to have to rely on what Ise Grand Shrine says about this. So, according to Ise Grand Shrine, the reason for the epidemic was because up until this point, the emperor and the shrine of Amaterasu Omikami in the form of a sacred mirror, the Yata mirror, were housed in the same place. But Emperor Sujin decided man and deity should be separated. Boom! Epidemic. But when the first saiou, Toyosuke Hime, went to Mount Miwa and enshrined the Yatamira there, the epidemic quieted down. Since historic record keeping is really sketchy with dates, as in, we don't need no dates, we don't actually know when this happened. Some are saying that this probably happened around the 1st century BCE. Maybe. Incidentally, Ise Grand Shrine doesn't appear until after this. It was the second saiou, Yamato Hime, assigned under the 11th Emperor Sunin, who goes out and looks for a suitable place to enshrine Amaterasu Omikami and the Yata mirror. Again, no exact dates, but we're probably talking about the start of the Common Era. Even Ise Grand Shrine doesn't know its exact date of establishment, but it does say that the Naiku, which was called Kotai Grand Shrine at the time, was established about 2,000 years ago thanks to Yamato Hime. The first verifiably documented saiou to come to the Saiku and conduct rituals at Ise was during the Asuka period. Oku Kojo was the Saiku saioudai between 673 and 686 CE under Emperor Tenmu. If you go to the Saiku History Museum's website, they have all the known names of the Saiku saioudai, what historic period, how long they were there, which emperor sent them, and we even know just a little bit about some of them. You can click on the name of the saioudai to learn more about them. Jumping back to Kyoto and the first Saiin saioudai. After the capital was moved to Heian-kyo in 794, Emperor Saga wanted to institute the saioudai to perform rituals for Kamo Daijin enshrined at Kamo Shrine, just like the Saiku saioudai was doing at Ise. Kamo Daijin is the protectorate of Kyoto, of the royal court, and of the peoples of Japan, so this would have been really important. Not only because it's good to respect your supporter deities, but Heian-kyo really needed to be successful as a capital. Because if you've seen my other videos on past capitals, the Saiin saioudai oversaw festivals and rituals at the Kamo Shrine. The largest festival was the Kamo Festival. The procession of the saioudai to Kamo Shrine was a really big thing, and a lot of people would have come out just to watch it. The procession would have been extremely extravagant, including the emperor's imperial envoy and messenger, their attendants, offerings to be made to the shrine deity, then the saioudai, her entourage, musicians, dancers, the whole kit and caboodle. Who doesn't love a parade? Just how crazy were people for this procession? Again, Murasaki Shikibu tells us about it. There is a very famous episode in the Tale of Genji in the chapter Aoi no Maki. During the procession, there is a traffic accident when Genji's wife Aoi, rushing to the procession, bumps her cart against the cart of the mother of the Saiku saioudai, Lady Kujo. Even Sei Shonagon mentions when she passes by an event that has a whole lot of people about, she's reminded of the Kamo Festival. The Saiku saioudai also had a procession when she left the capital to go to Ise. Her procession was called Gunko because of the sheer amount of people who went with her. Again, the emperor's imperial envoy, the messenger and their attendants, the saioudai, her office staff, and each provincial governor as they traveled through their province, and their attendants. So there was close to 200 people walking 6 days and 5 nights, the attendants of the saioudai carrying her on a platform on their shoulders. If you do go to the Saiku archaeological site, I wholeheartedly recommend that you see the video playing at Saiku History Museum recreating the Gunko procession. You will be absolutely amazed at the production quality that went into making that video. Those are real people in real period clothing. No CGI, no AI. After the saioudai got to Saiku, she was expected to attend to several rituals held throughout the year, especially rituals in June, September, and December, and whenever the shrine underwent Shikinen Sengu. Since the saioudai was from Kyoto, the Saiku was like a mini capital for the saioudai and her staff. Also, the Saiku was about 20 kilometers away from Ise Shrine, so this was more travel for the saioudai just to get to work. But at least she got a bath in the form of purification rituals before and after work. Whoa, it's the princess from last episode? Where's the ochako?
Oh, who knows? I'm here now.
Alright, so, the cafe?
I heard about it. The Saigakute Garden Cafe, was it?
Yes, the ochako runs it.
Anyways, those of you watching this video right now, if you have a moment afterwards, why not check out the Saigakute Garden Cafe and buy some coffee? Coffee. That was an interesting drink.
You had some coffee, did you?
I might have tried it.
Thank you.
There are also membership options for those that really like buying coffee, especially to give our host here
Nanshun.
a little boost of caffeine.
Yes, there is the History and Culture Fans tier. Members can enjoy early ad-free access to all long-form HCK content and get shoutouts on future videos. Sorry I'm late. Oh, what?
Well, that's my cue to excite.
Thank you. And if you don't like coffee, then just give this video a like. Please?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. Well, that was a little weird. There was one of several ways a saiou could quit her position, and these points were followed more or less by both the Saiin saiou and the Saiku saiou.
The emperor she was serving under abdicates. Her parents or close relatives pass away, forcing her into mourning. She is forced to quit due to scandal or adultery. She gets sick or dies in office. Or she can decide to quit during the Shosain or at the Murasaki no Im before being sent to her main post.
Not much is known about former saiou once they are relieved of their position. Some may go on to get married, others become poets, and some others may decide to go live out their lives quietly as nuns. So why does the position of saiou die out? Well, the short answer is the Kamakura period sucked, y'all. Even before then, things start to slowly fall apart around the 9th century when the emperor starts to lose power. The first one to go was the Saiin saiou.
Iyako Naishin no becomes Saiin in 1209, but she decides to quit after getting sick, ending the position in 1212. She was 13 at the time, to give you an idea how young these ladies were.
The divination ritual to find a new saiou was never performed again, mostly because the Kamakura shogunate becomes unstable, leading to the Jokyu rebellion. The royal family was exiled, and so were not in Kyoto anymore.
Despite her family being exiled and the upheavals after that, I am happy to say that Iyako Naishin no stays in Kyoto and lives to the ripe old age of 74.
The Saiku was able to endure for just a little while longer, but then 100 years later, and things drastically change again.
In 1333, Sachiko Naishin no was picked in the divination ritual. Around this time also, she receives a message in her dream to dedicate 100 poems to Ise Grand Shrine. This must mean she was definitely going to Ise.
But very sadly, the Kenmu restoration and the establishment of the Kenmu government occurred all while Sachiko was going through the purification rituals at Murasaki no In.
In 1336, Sachiko Naishin no decides to end the rituals and never takes the trip to Ise as saiou, ending a 660-year tradition after Okukojo.
During occupied Japan from 1945 to 1952, Japan was pretty restricted in observing any traditional culture or arts. Once the restrictions were lifted, there was a lot of activity to revitalize Japan's traditions. One of those that comes to mind is the Yosakoi dance from Kochi Prefecture, which was established in 1954. Yochoro-yo, yochoro-yo, yochoro, yochoro, yochoro-yo. Kyoto decided to bring back Kamo Shrine's festival procession, except the saiou was not going to be coming from the royal family, but would be a young woman from Kyoto itself. She would be called the saioudai. since this new type of saioudai was just filling a traditional role and not a position. In 1956, the first Aoi Festival procession of the saioudai occurred after 744 years of absence. You must think it's easy to become a saioudai, since her only qualification is she must be from Kyoto, but you would be so very wrong. While she's not chosen from divination, she is chosen by the Aoi Matsuri Gyoretsu Hozonkai, and they don't choose just anyone. They already have a list of candidates to choose from. The candidates must be single, must have been born in Kyoto or have a very deep connection with Kyoto, must have been educated in Japan's traditional arts, especially omotesenke tea ceremony, and she must be able to front the bill of the whole festival all by herself. The price tag? About 10 to 20 million yen. Just to give you an idea about that, the average yearly salary in Japan is 1.5 to 2 million yen. So, yeah.
So all of this you see here, the costumes, makeup, the furnishings, the horses and cattle, her cart, not to mention bentos for everyone and cleaning fees. This is all paid by the saioudai. Oh, wow.
So that's who the saioudai was, her history, and Kyoto's attempt to preserve her legacy today.
I really thought that this was going to be an easy video to research, but I was very wrong. I did find the most helpful information to be found on the Saikou History Museum website and on the Imperial Household Agency website. Those are very good websites. Between Shimogamo and Kamigamo shrines, I found the information on Kamigamo Shrine's website to be a lot more helpful, except on the mythology of Kamo Shrine. They left the mythology in that old Japanese style, and I can't read old Japanese to save my life. Even this copy of the Kojiki is translated. It's not the original Japanese. Can't do it. The English pages for both shrines are a lot less detailed than they are in Japanese, and there were a couple of careless mistakes that I had to double check on, like the names of emperors. Also, the mythology is just as unreadable in English as it is in Japanese. I didn't know what I was reading. So, I don't know how you can mess that up. That's literally their job. So, to my book and my research fans, I will list all of the books that I researched and the websites that I looked at in the description down below. But just to caution you on the website information that's available in English.
Oh, that was a long video. Please give this video a like and let me know in the comments if there was something that I glossed over too quickly. There was a lot of stuff to get through. Also, there is a lot of you who watch this channel and are not subscribed. Please join the audience of Cooldown fans and subscribe. It's just a click to be reminded of when my next big research project is uploaded. Also, thank you to VIP Cooldown Performance member Paul Elphinstone and new history and culture fan Celine J. Now, here is the watch next menu. Here it is. The pinball-like story of Heian Kyo's establishment, or the cooldown about the first ever honeymoon in Japan. But that's all I have for today. See you next time.